We're going to move on now to trans rights. There have been many anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced.
What rights do I not have in America as a trans man? Because I'm often told that not only are they erasing my rights, but that I also don't have all of my rights. So what rights do I not have? And who's trying to erase me?
Mama, I know I'm a demon, it ain't nothing she could do but pray for me.
There have been many anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced and enacted.
You see the forced teaming? It's not anti-LGBTQ plus, okay? Because all these pro-trans movements are actually anti-LGB. Stop lumping them together. The lesbian, gays, and bisexuals have nothing to do with gender identity. In fact, they're being harmed too. And no, it's not anti-trans. It's pro-women, pro-homosexual, pro-children, safeguarding. Watch how they mislead.
Outlawing things like gender-affirming healthcare and banning kids from playing sports. To go deeper into this issue, here with us today is Mulvaney, who's welcomed us into her life by showing on social media her girlhood series. Let's take a look.
My name is Mulvaney. I am a trans woman.
So he says he's a trans woman, but then it's days of girlhood. So which is it, Dill? You gotta make up your mind. You can't be a they, them.
I'm Mulvaney. My pronouns are she, they, and this is my audition for the Neutrogena Splash campaign.
And a she, her, and a little girl all at the same time. You gotta pick one, pick a lane.
And I am documenting my transition publicly on TikTok for the world to see.
Hey guys, it's day 3 of being a girl.
Okay, it's day 200 of being a girl, and I think we can agree that it's been a whirlwind. When people started watching and the numbers kept getting higher, I realized quickly how public my transition would be.
Are you a male and are having a hard time beating other males in your sport? Well, I'm gonna teach you how to win a Woman of the Year award. Woohoo!
Of course I knew that there would be backlash and negativity. I try to not let the internet's words hurt me or my spirit.
All women care about is playing with Barbies and going shopping.
Day 95 of being a girl, and we are going Barbie doll shopping!
So they won't even mind. And if they do have a problem, well, our feelings are more important than them anyway.
But do you know what does hurt? Seeing people in power and authority figures creating laws and bills that are actively trying to harm us trans humans, especially trans children. Our lives have become political talking points. Lawmakers in many states want to exclude us from participating in sports.
There has been, to my knowledge, not one single proposed piece of legislation that would ban trans children from sports, or trans identifying children, or children with an imposed trans identity from sports. All of the proposed legislation would just simply solidify Title IX, which says girls can have their own sports teams, that we segregate sports by sex, not gender identity. Why? Because it's bodies playing against each other. Males and females. The boys can play on the boys' team. The girls can play on the girls' team. Nobody's excluded from sports. Stop lying.
Or getting proper health care.
Proper health care meaning what? Breast implants for adult men, Lupron for children, followed by cross-sex hormones, which results in sterility 100% of the time, or our fan favorite, cosmetic hysterectomies for children. Where those pesky uteruses that make you feel so gender dysphoric when you can't ever see them. Dylan, and I'm speaking to you directly, I know good and goddamn well that if your parents had been on the trans train and had been trans housing by proxy parents, and they had medically transitioned you at a young age to the point that they sterilized you and that they inverted your penis, you would be devastated. You have spoken openly about your desire to have children. That's why you froze your sperm.
Day 58 of being a girl, and I just froze my sperm. I'm currently taking estrogen and a testosterone blocker, and I plan to be on them for a long time, and one of the side effects can be infertility. I didn't know that having kids was something that I was gonna even have to think about this early in my life. I'm in my 20s.
If it seems early to be thinking about in your 20s, then why are you trying to put 8-year-olds in a position to make fertility decisions? Because puberty blockers followed by cross-sex hormones results in sterility 100% of the time. And you're giving it to children as young as 8 and probably younger. You think those children are capacitated to make that sort of life-altering decisions at the age of 8? Stuff that won't impact them for decades? Cool, Dill.
And I just have to be careful because there's kind of a small window now with these hormones of what I decide. I am so down for adoption when I'm older. I think that would be a beautiful journey. But I was also scared of letting go of the other options. I just got my sperm count results back from the lab, and my sperm count was just above the viable amount. So I kind of did it at the perfect time, and I'm really, really happy that I did.
So how in the hell can you advocate for doing this to children? Children who cannot psychologically grasp and understand their future desire to procreate or to create a family or to fall in love with somebody and want to have a child with them. How dare you?
Some folks want to decide where we can use the bathroom.
And this is misleading. It's not that people want to decide where you can suddenly just choose, oh, we're going to designate you to a new bathroom. No, they don't want you to change the structure of society as it's always been. You have always been relegated to the men's bathroom and the male bathroom. That's just always how it's been. It is you who wants to change society. You.
No one should have fear living in a state that they call home while being true to themselves. No one should have their lives put in danger because of who they are inside.
Not having these privileges does not put you in danger. This is, as it's been shown time and time and time again, simply about affirming your identity so that you feel better. We, however, are the ones who are put in actual danger by creating these pro-trans privilege packages where we uproot everything that we've ever created and all of the safe protections and spaces for women and children, and we hand them over to you because you want to feel pretty and special for a little while and you want the boys to flirt with you.
That's why I'm sharing my story with the world. I'm using my platform to stand up for my community and for any of the little Dylans that deserve a clear path to their true identity.
Mr. President, this is my 221st day of publicly transitioning.
God love you.
Notice how he said of publicly transitioning. He didn't say of girlhood. He didn't even say of being a woman or of womanhood. Because he knows saying it out loud is ridiculous. He knows it. He knows in his heart that he's going to sit there and say it to these men that they're going to be like, yeah, like he can feel it.
Thank you. I am extremely privileged to live in a state that allows me access to the resources I need, and that decision is just between me and my doctors. But many states have lawmakers that feel like they can involve themselves in this very personal process.
How personal is it when you're asking taxpayers to foot the bill?
A public records request by the PA Family Institute revealed that taxpayers in PA have spent $16 million to medically transition our children since 2015. Governor Wolf changed state policy for Medicare and experiment with hormones and puberty blockers. A few of us visited CHOP yesterday, which is the Children's Hospital in Pennsylvania, to drop packets from our duty to gender-affirming physicians and surgeons. Letting them know that we're here, we're watching them, we aren't going anywhere. And if you're in PA and you're a taxpayer, yes, and you don't know that your taxes are paying for this, yes, paying for youth to mutilate their bodies, yes, you should be very alarmed.
You should be concerned, yes. You should care. This is costing us money in Pennsylvania.
How personal is it when you're asking women to move aside? How personal is it when you're literally redefining words to accommodate your desires and wishes?
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
For children, absolutely.
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. As a moral question and as a legal question. I just think it's wrong.
Which part is wrong? Holding physicians and surgeons to an ethical standard to not experiment on the bodies of children and use off-label drugs like Lupron, which is a men's prostate cancer drug, to block the puberty of children with unknown consequences. That's the immoral part. Do you think that's an unreasonable position there, Joe?
You know, I think I was saying before we started that my son, my deceased son, used to be the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He passed the broadest piece of legislation that he, as Attorney General, was able to convince the legislature and the governor to sign. That dealt with all gender-affirming capability. I mean, there's a lot of, sometimes they try to block you from being able to access certain medicines, being able to access certain procedures, and so on.
Wait, is he trying to say that Beau released the first major piece of legislation protecting trans access to trans health care? Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, things are starting to go left as if we knew that they wouldn't. I shouldn't be surprised at this point, but it's so embarrassing. This is our president. This is who you guys wanted. It's who you picked. Good old Grandpa Joe. Everyone's like, yeah. It's really sad. No, he really can't keep up with what's going on. Joe Biden is simply not mentally capacitated, I think, it wasn't mentally capacitated to run, let alone, to finish the term, let alone to run for a second. I don't know what the hell the Democrats are going to do. It's bad. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And, it's like he almost agreed with us. Oh, so it sounds like you agree, Joe.
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
None of that should be available.
A little confused. Are you a little confused about what decade you're in? This isn't last decade when you were saying that you don't support LGB rights.
How about in 1973 when you said that gay federal employees were a, quote, security risk? Or in 1993 when you voted to block the immigration of HIV-positive immigrants into the United States. In the same year, Joe, you voted for a bill that created the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in the United States military that kept homosexual individuals from being able to discuss their status as gay, lesbian, or bisexual. Remember that, Joe? For decades, Joe, you opposed same-sex marriage and proved your opposition by voting for the Marriage Protection Act in 2006. In fact, both before and after becoming Obama's running mate and nominee for vice president, you still opposed same-sex marriage. You stated time and time again that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that there's really nothing more to debate here. Remember that, Joe? So anyway, it just sounds like you got a little bit confused of what decade you're in.
I mean, no state should be able to do that, in my view.
Oh, honey. Oh, you. Someone come get Grandpa. Grandpa's getting confused again. He got lost at the airport. Someone come get him.
So I feel very, very strongly that you should have every single solitary right.
What rights do I not have in America as a trans man?
Including use of your gender identity bathrooms in public.
Now, is that a right or is that a privilege? Because that sounds like a privilege to me. Because I thought the whole reason that we even segregated bathrooms in the first place was because women's unique and distinct vulnerabilities. So allowing men the privilege to go into the women's facility sounds like a privilege, not a human right. Because it doesn't seem like there's much of a need for them to be placed with somebody of a biological different layout.
Thank you. Thank you. And it feels like Republicans have turned trans and non-binary people into this thing to blame society's downfall on in some ways.
the absolute irony that you would say Republicans are using trans as to blame everything on all the problems of the world. And yet, that's literally what you're doing. The fact of the matter is that the gender critical movement is comprised of people from all across the political aisle, because people are getting tired of this strange, bizarre, warped fantasy bullshit that is getting further and further out of control. And actually, it is you who points to anybody who is not an extreme far leftist activist as being some massive threat to society. Who is the one who's allowed to speak? Who is the one who has access to the White House? You do, Dylan. Who are the ones who are being deplatformed and silenced and scapegoated? Yes, that's right. Anybody who doesn't espouse a leftist ideology.
And this narrative is not only dangerous to our mental health, but also our physical safety. And particularly trans women of color are being murdered at an alarming rate.
So here's the problem with that little statistic and your attempt to spin it. See, when we say trans women of color, then it sounds like, oh, there's this big problem of black women being murdered. But then when you look at the actual statistics and the truth, and not the insane thing that Joe Biden's about to say, which
More than any other group of people.
Thank you.
which is not accurate, it is actually black men who have the highest murder victim rate of any other group in the U.S. And so when you kind of remove all of the other twisted words and identity politics, then it sounds pretty in keeping with what we already know. Black men are being murdered at very high rates, and unfortunately, they're being murdered by other black men. That's the issue. That's the problem. That's what needs to be resolved.
How can Democratic leaders be more effective in advocating for us trans people and our families and our lives and our opportunities?
There has been no civil rights movement that has been not only more successful, but more rapidly successful than the transgender movement. The absolute explosion, I mean, the uprooting of society, the reformulation of everything that we know, from changing our language to changing our laws to restructuring buildings to have different accommodations, to changing medical practice, to changing the DSM-5. What are you talking about? How much more how much more do you need to be accommodated? Nobody has gotten the treatment that you people have gotten. I mean, you guys have gotten anything and everything that you've ever asked for and then beyond. And you want more and more and more. That's the problem. Because there is no real final goal. It's just more. Let's just keep seeing what else we can get. I mean, as evidenced by you. Look at you. You were a man not even a year ago. And now all of a sudden you decided you're trans and your opportunities exploded. You got opportunities out the ass. You got, you're sitting in front of the President of the United States of America, giving advice on policy, asking questions with now this. What are you talking about? You gained 7 to 8 million followers in less than 10 months, I believe. What are you talking about?
I'm not being facetious when I say this, being seen with people like you. No, I mean it. I genuinely mean it. People fear what they don't know. They fear what they don't know. And when people realize, individuals realize, oh, this is what they're telling me to be frightened of, this is the problem, this is...
I told you. That was the purpose of Dylan Mulvaney. That's why they picked him. And then you sell him like Dylan Mulvaney, who, when they talk about, a trans person, you think, well, just look at Dylan. He's so cute and funny. He's just a little cuddly. He's so silly. He's not harming anybody. He weighs about 95 pounds. Who's scared of Dylan? Good old Dylan? Oh, not him. That's why. That's why they chose Dylan. They handpicked him. They groomed him. They created him.
It is not by mistake that this man got 7 million followers in record timing. And suddenly he's the sweetheart of Hollywood. He was an actor. He's an actor. That's what he does. He's willing to do anything for his 15 minutes of fame. They said, you know what? You're hired. He is a high effeminate gay man who was willing to play the part. He already proved himself. It worked. It was so ridiculous. It caught on. That's why we're here, folks.
I mean, people change their minds. People just don't know enough to know.
See, now he's talking about himself. No, Joe, we do understand. That's the problem. Again, we do. You're the one who doesn't know what's going on. And you didn't realize how much this could politically benefit you until it started to gasp, politically benefit you.
And it's not because of intellectual incapability, it's just lack of exposure.
LMAO, he's definitely talking about himself. Just admit it, Joe. Just be like, listen, yeah, I didn't know anything. I was really weirded out by the whole thing before. And he's really talking about his relationship with homosexuality, not even the trans thing, right? So how he felt uncomfortable, and now he's realizes that it's politically advantageous to ally himself with you guys, and that's what it is. He sees you as a gay man. You realize that he doesn't see you as a woman. He sees you as an effeminate gay man. That's what he's talking about. And Joe, speak for yourself. Please don't speak for us. You haven't even listened to our concerns, let alone know us well enough and know our history and our relationship and our understanding of this group of people to know where we stand on it. Please don't speak for us.
And I think that it's really important that we continue to speak out about the basic fundamental rights of all human beings.
Except for actual women and non-trans children. Am I right, Joe?
And the idea that what's going on, in some states, I won't get into the politics of it, but in some states, it's outrageous, and I think it's immoral. The trans part's not immoral. What they're trying to do to trans persons is immoral.
All these weird Freudian slips. Bro, what? Who said anything about it being immoral? Clearly you're secretly thinking that, and I'm sure you've probably said it so many times, so in your mind you're like, oh God, they can see me, they know that I secretly think it's weird. It's no, I do not think that being trans is weird and immoral at all. No, not me, Joseph R. Biden. Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all. I don't think it's creepy. Not me. Definitely, I never have said that it's for clowns and some clown shit. I never said that. Only those other messed up Republicans said all that. Ha! Well, it's Joe, what? No one's even what? That's not even what we're talking about. And Dylan's just
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And do you have any messages to the families of trans folks that are seeking, options for their children, but are struggling to find resources? Do you have a message to those parents?
Yeah, I do. This is blood of your blood, bone of your bone. And it is, again, speaking to my son, when he spent a year in Iraq, and he was a decorated soldier. He volunteered to go, he had to give up the Attorney General's job and then came back to it. And he started a foundation I'm not allowed to talk about now because I can't raise money for it any longer. But it was for abused children. And one of the things he did is raise millions of dollars, this organization, to basically educate parents as to what they should not be afraid of, and to educate the community as to what is what is just pure hyperbole. And so I just think it's a matter of leaders speaking out and saying, as I told you, I mentioned a young woman who used to be in my staff, who is now a state senator. And she's trans, and she's a state senator in the state of Delaware, in an area that was historically very conservative, the part of Delaware. And she's running unopposed this time. So things are changing. But it's a matter of us acknowledging that there's nothing to be, just because it's different, there's nothing to be fearful about.
Thank you for your questions, Dylan, and for using your platform to empower others. Mr. President, we're now going to go.
Joe Biden has been exceptionally clear throughout his political career that he cares neither about homosexual Americans nor women, both groups of whom far and away outweigh the numbers of trans-identifying individuals. Transgender people are virtually a minuscule group. The fact that they have risen to virtually the top of the priority totem pole goes to show you that there is some value that this government, that this cabinet sees in promoting these as rights. Joe Biden wasn't concerned with women when both he and Barack Obama, during their 8-year term, failed to codify Roe v. Wade. They weren't thinking about 50% of Americans for whom that would be significant. That wasn't important. He, time and time again, scoffed at the idea of gay marriage as going against the traditional idea of what marriage means. Yeah, they ended up doing it at the very end. Why? I believe because they started to see the bigger picture. This isn't like a lifelong concern for disadvantaged people. Not Joe 94 crime bill Biden. Not Joe super predator Biden. Not Joe, they can't be helped. These are people who were maladapted from the moment they were born, and they'll be maladapted till the day they die and can't be rehabilitated, so lock them up for life, Biden. Oh, but suddenly he's pro-BLM. He cares about black Americans. No, you've got to understand. We've got to stop looking at the surface for why these people are pursuing the policies that they are. I can assure you the government wants to protect its own power. This is a career politician who has been hoarding power with his cronies and buddies for the past 40 some odd years. This is about siphoning off more power over the internet. He who controls the internet controls not only America, but the world. This is globalization. This is creating one centralized source of power. Right now, when the internet first came out, there was a democratization of power. Suddenly, mainstream media became impotent. Maybe not totally, but really clipped their wings and clipped their balls and what they were able to do, because now we could share our own news. We could get down on the ground. Twitter came out. Now we can give minute-to-minute micro updates of events that are happening, and we don't need to wait for your New York Times reporter to go filter out some version of events and give us some Cliff Notes recap that's through some biased filter. No, we can see a variety of perspectives from people who are on the ground. Suddenly, the fashion industry broke wide open, and now people are interested in these smaller brands and designers. We get to decide what's beautiful. We get to decide
who the body role models are. We get to decide what's fashionable. We get to decide which music is interesting. They lost control over so much when the internet came out, and they realized rather than take it as a loss, we need to evolve and find a way to reverse that power and rein it in for ourselves, because they saw not only is it relevant nationally, this is relevant globally. We can control the flow of information. He who controls the news controls the world. We can shape ideas which will shape policy and power. That's the goal. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Astafa, how is it that the trans movement is going to help the U.S. government control our speech? Well, if you can convince a populace of people to proclaim something that is fundamentally untrue, to go against a natural order, a recognition of material reality, to deny fundamental, scientific, biological, universal truth, such as, that males can be women and females can be men, and that transitioning is possible, and that gender is fluid, and that gender even exists. If we can convince people to say these things and to denounce reality, it will cause a sense of relativism, that there is no foundational truth or reality. It will make people question everything that they believe, because if something so fundamental, so foundational as males are men, or such as a man is an adult human male and a woman is an adult human female, if they can get us to question that and overcomplicate that, then we will lose confidence in everything that we know, everything that we have access to, that we can perceive, that we understand, that is universal to us, that cuts across culture, time, language. And once they can train us to heal and to give in and to say things that aren't true, to repeat mantras such as trans women are women and trans men are men, they can start to control our perceptions. They can control our speech. They can condition us to being used to saying things that are fundamentally not true. They can condition us to get used to censoring ourselves and not speaking the truth and not speaking reality. That is a powerful mechanism. That is a powerful training tool. And the further we go with it, the more discombobulated future generations are going to be. The more discombobulated young people are going to be, with a sense of the truth is what I'm being told, not what I perceive. The truth is what I'm reading, what is being given to me, not what I can observe, not what I can quantify, not what I can measure. That is a dangerous, a very powerful tool, and it lends power to those who wield it against others.
I'm wearing little butterflies in my hair today because I'm quirky. Today is a very special episode for my fellow women. We're going to be learning how to use tampons. Oh, yay! Now I know what you're thinking. Dylan, you don't need tampons. I know, you bunch of silly gooses. I identify as a little girl. I'm too young for tampons, but I will need them soon when my Barbie wand becomes a princess pouch. Now, first you take the tampon out of the wrapper, and be very careful, we don't want to break a nail. Isn't that right, fellow ladies? So then, you get the tampon and you, well, let's see. You can use them to make really cute earrings. Oh! Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look how special. Oh, I love that we can be vulnerable together. And you can be your true, authentic self, like me. Well, thank you for coming to see me today. Normally, I only have the voices in my head to talk to. Love ya, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 38.
Alright, cut camera. Yo, this is bullshit. I got places to be. You believe people buy this shit? I told you just gotta identify as something. Bitches will throw money at you. Suckers. Yo, camera's off, right? We're not rolling? Camera's off, right? We're actually live. Live?
Oh my gosh! That was out of context.